What's up everybody, hope you have an amazing day so far. My name is Phil and today's video we're going to check out the Tonex Plug. That was a killer tone, and everything which you heard came from this particular small little piece of technology. Amazing stuff. This is anything which I would ever have wanted from a headphone amplifier. Sounds amazing, has a lot of different cool features. We're going to get into that one. This has been sent to me by IQ Multimedia on my own request. I asked them kindly if they have one which they could send out, and they were kind enough to do so. So thank you, IQ Multimedia, for sending this out. And this also means to you, full transparency and full disclosure, this is a sponsored video. No money has exchanged hands on this particular product. However, I'm allowed to keep the Tonex Plug. I'm working on different fronts with IQ Multimedia together. They're a business partner. So you may take that with a grain of salt, whatever you're seeing over here. However, I will always be honest about small little flaws or small little quirks. The companies never are ashamed of that being pointed out by the people who are reviewing this stuff, because in the end, that's valuable feedback, and that's also allowing you to make an informed decision whether or not this is the right thing for you. My personal Tonex journey harkens way back when the plugin was released, 2022. When the plugin was first released, I was super excited for that. It allowed us to do things which only the Neural DSP Quad Cortex and the Kemper profiling head for over $1,000, $1,500 would be allowing us for a way lesser price. I think it was around about then 100 euros or something. And it worked all on your computer, which was nice. No hardware attached to it. You could make profiles of your own amps, have them in the DAW. That was awesome. 1 year later, Tonex came out then with the Tonex pedal, the hardware basically encompassing that functionality, and that was groundbreaking in my book. What they have done is they have completely reshaped the way that we nowadays think of getting a great amplifier tone in different form factors. As you could see, we got this over here, we got the plugin, we got the ToneX ONE, and now we got the Tonex Plug as well. They recently also released a Tonex ONE Plus, which kind of combines the best out of both worlds from the Tonex ONE and the Tonex Plug. That's also going to be very soon featured on my channel. Very, very excited for that one. However, in today's video, we're talking about the Tonex Plug, which in my opinion is, anything which I could have dreamed of from a headphone guitar amplifier. Before we dive into some tones, meaning a full mix, and also checking some tones within the Tonex Plug, as well as checking out the signal fidelity between the Tonex Plug, Tonex Pedal, and the Tonex ONE, I first want to kind of give you a gloss overview on how this thing operates and how it works. What's pretty cool about this unit is the Bluetooth connectivity, which allows you full access on all the parameters which Tonex has to offer via the Tonex Control app, which is now also available on Android, not only on iPhone as it was released. So really, really cool stuff. You can change the tone model, set up the EQ differently, chorus, modulation, reverb, all of the good stuff which you know from the Tonex editor, you can also now do as well mobile on a phone app in order to control the Tonex Plug. But there's not only a Bluetooth data connection which allows you access over the app, there's also an audio connection between the Tonex Plug and your smartphone, which then allows you to play music through the Tonex Plug out of the headphone app. That will allow you that you can listen to music which you set up on your smartphone and then play guitar to that via the tone models which you have in Tonex. And this also comes in the app integrated with a metronome, which you can set up. And then you also have that for your, finger exercises and stuff like that. So really kind of an all-encompassing system over here. And what is especially cool about this, you see that USB-C port over there? That's not only to load this unit, that's also working as a full-blown audio interface. And that's gonna come in handy for the nerd part of this video, where I'm checking out how to set up the input trim. That's super useful. You can just take this with you basically and technically go to a studio and record with that. You got your tone over here. You don't have to take your amp with you anymore. You just take this over here and that's all you need. When it comes to how to operate with the Bluetooth app, there are a lot of different channels out there who made a way better job in describing. For this kind of deep dive stuff, I would always recommend to check out Henning Pauli's videos or Sonic Drive Studio. I might eventually link them also down below, just that you have a second reference over here. I want to first show you a full mix. Next up, We're going to do some nerd stuff where we're going to check out how to set the input trim on all of these devices to kind of match each other and to get the best out of the profiles, which I have provided on my ToneNet page, which are also going to be linked down below. And then in the end, I also made a small test where I actually used this together with a power amp, together with our drummer, which is a heavy metal, heavy hitting drummer, and really show you this could actually also be used in a live situation. But to kick things off first, let's listen to the full mix made with the Tonex plug. Let's get to the nerdy part of today's video, input trim and all of that stuff. Hopefully it's not going to get too boring, but I think there's a cool learning out of this overall. So, input trim is a feature on the Tonex range which allows you to dial in the gain before it actually hits the tone model. So it's just a clean boost or attenuation of the guitar signal into the tone model so that you get the intended results. Think of it as if you would have a volume knob before your amplifier. If you turn down your guitar signal very quiet, then you will not hit the amp as hard as you would actually do with the guitar just simply straight in plugged in. And same with a clean boost. If you bump up the clean boost a whole lot and you then go into the amplifier, you're going to get eventually more gain and other side effects from the amplifier. That's exactly what the input trim is doing basically to the digital tone model. You're kind of gain staging in a correct or sometimes also incorrect fashion. All of my setups over here, which I set up here in the reamping chain, are made so that when I use my Audient ID44, I can simply get always the same tone or the right tone of my respective capture by setting the interface gain at 0, plugging my guitar in, playing. Leaves out all the guesswork, I don't have to twiddle around with input gain and so on and so forth. When I look at how this looks like, waveform wise, that's what I'm getting over here. As you could hear, perfectly fine, clean guitar signal, works wonderfully with all the different profiles which I have. Now, on the Tonex plug, by default, the input trim is set to plus 8.5 dB, meaning that you go into the Tonex plug and then the guitar signal is boosted by 8.5 dB, and that for me makes no sense because this will basically immediately clip your guitar signal, as you can see over here. It does not really, it does not really fit well. It totally clips out. And mind you, this is the guitar into the Tonex plug and then going straight out of the USB-C audio interface over here. So I'm not adding any additional digital to analog conversion, which might skew my results over here. I'm gonna set the volume a little bit quieter so you're not gonna get your eardrums blown out, but you can hear for yourself, this sounds horrible. Sounds absolutely horrible. And it does get a lot better when you set the input trim to 0 dB. However, it's not fully there yet. There's still a little bit transients chopped off and whatnot. So you can already look from a visual perspective. If you compare the two highlighted tracks over here, or items, you can see that the 0 dB over here on the left side is way higher than the clean Audient ID44 signal. So my next step was, okay, before I'm now going in small iterations, let's go to the very, very least bottom thing, which is minus 15 dB. And then that's a little bit undergained. I'm gonna turn down my microphone over here. So you could hear that was now a little bit quieter than the Audient ID44 signal. So what I did is I took them side by side and I then, boosted down or attenuated the volume of the Audient ID44 so that they kind of match in size waveform wise. Because this is not a reamp, I cannot really do it 100% clean, but I kind of get into the same ballpark, and from there onward, if I add a notch more gain or a notch less gain, that's anyways part of the process when working with Tonex. So I found out that this is around about 5 dBs, so boosting up the input trim by 5 dBs will get me very close to the Audient ID44 signal, which you can then see over here. So already we facilitated minus 10 dB on the input trim brings me so that my profiles work best. Let's go ahead and do the same with the Tonex pedal. And over here already, when we set it to 0 dB, we're not even boosting it up yet, but we're setting it to 0 dB. There's one interesting thing coming into vision, and that is the transients are simply being chopped off. You can see it over here. All the transients on the Tonex plug signal with minus 10 dB are being retained. Even with 0 dB, we're having a lot of, retaining of the transients and a very strong signal, which is not the case with the Tonex pedal, with the regular old 4-year-old Tonex pedal by now. So as you can see, I notched down the volume a little bit more so that this bass line, this core waveform, is similar in size to what the Audient ID has on this side. So that is very similar, not caring about the transients, and that yielded in somewhere around 2.5 dBs is kind of the optimum setting. So I went input gain wise on the Tonex pedal to minus 2.5 dB on the input trim. I did the same thing for the ToneX ONE. Again, here you can see that the plus 8.5 dB input trim boost by default are way too much, and we're kind of getting into a very similar situation like on the Tonex plug. But yeah, that has to be then reduced down. It's kind of clipping already. And then when I set it to 0 dB and then looked at how they match up with the Audient signal, which is over here. No, here it is. So if I look at those, again, the core waveform is kind of the same size when I bump this down from 0 dB, 5 dBs over here. So minus 5 dBs is the way to go on the Tonex ONE. Now, that means, let's summarize, on the Tonex plug, I got minus 10 dB on the input trim. On the Tonex ONE, I got minus 5 dB. And on the Tonex pedal, I got minus 2.5 dB on the input trim in order to make it sound right with my profiles, which are calibrated for plus 18 dBu. this is an awesome unit, and I do believe that this is a very versatile toolkit for any musician out there who is serious about good tone on the go. I personally use this a lot when we are out for gigs and backstage playing. We got in-ear systems anyway, so I anyways got my in-ear over there, and I just plug it in. I get instant good tones. I can play along. Our bass player has also used this, and he was really, like excited about the tonal possibilities of this one. Freaking awesome. I am a huge fan. Is there any downside to this? Not actually that I can really think of, to be very honest with you, because it has a really good Bluetooth connectivity to your smartphone, so over the app, and also that audio playback thing. You can record it out of the USB-C interface over here. You can set up the presets over here, or dial in through the presets. Set up a tuner mode so that you also directly have it. It would be super awesome if you could connect wireless MIDI to it. I'm not sure if this is actually a thing, if you can actually use that. So that would be very interesting if that would be possible at some point in time. Then I don't see any issue why you couldn't gig with this over here. Like plug in a wireless unit, which is, grabbing off the signal out of the headphone, and you're good to go. Awesome stuff. I'm a huge fan of this one. I'm very excited for the ToneX ONE Plus, which is also being sent my way. I want to thank again IK Multimedia for sending over these units. They have been very kind to me over the years, and I'm super grateful to be working together with them. Yeah, go get one of these. They're awesome. With that out of the way, if you have liked what you've seen, then I would highly appreciate you liking this video, subscribing to the channel, commenting down below if you have one of the Tonexes, if you want to buy one, what are your thoughts on this video, what are your thoughts on the tone which we got over here. I'm super curious and always happy to nerd out with anybody of you. Thank you so much everybody for watching. You don't know what that really means to me, that I'm being approached by these companies and can collaborate with them. That's all because of you people watching out there, and for that I'm forever grateful. Thank you so much. Hope to see you in the next video. Until then, keep it metal.